About a month ago, a spin-off in the Super Meat Boy franchise was released, and this game completely changed how I thought about the drop-down puzzle game genre. Hey everyone, I hope you're having a good day, because once you start playing Dr. Fetus's Mean Meat Machine, you're going to be extremely frustrated, but at least it'll be for all the right reasons. In a nutshell, this is a drop-down puzzle game similar to many games of the past, with the name clearly being a play on Dr. Robotniks Mean Bean Machine, but one of the key differences is the hazards that need to be avoided. These hazards are staples of the Super Meat Boy franchise, with saw blades, lasers, and rockets all making a return. If you've played a Super Meat Boy game before, you'll know there are a couple fundamental aspects to these games, and some of them carry over here, such as one-hit KOs. And if you've played almost any drop-down puzzle game before, you'll be familiar with the strategies on how to get matches and combos, but it's the combination of these that make this a really unique experience. First off, this game is extremely difficult. While it does start off relatively easy as it teaches you the basic concepts you're going to need to master, the difficulty spike is extremely rapid, and you'll quickly start to feel the pressure of the hazards as you try to get your matches at the bottom of the screen. The game teaches you not just about making matches to move on to the next level, but to think about making combos as you get a reward for making longer chains, as it grants you a short burst of invincibility while also pausing the hazards. This reward for making combos can make some of the most difficult levels drastically easier when achieved, but that's where the difficulty lies. At some levels, it almost feels like it's an impossible task to even get one combo. Now, to me, that's where the old drop-down strategies started to feel like they wouldn't work in this game. Being able to chain combos is a classic strategy in the genre, but since you're so focused on avoiding hazards, I felt like the easiest way to beat the levels was to focus on getting single clears one after another and moving along that way. While that does take away the feeling of being an expert of a puzzle game, as you rarely get the joy of making a ×3 combo, when it is achieved, you're overcome with a massive sense of relief, as you know you can just power your way to the next checkpoint due to the rewards. But what makes it so difficult as the game progresses is not only are you avoiding the hazards, which are a one-hit KO with the active piece being dropped, the hazards can also target and destroy the permanently placed pieces, ruining any strategy you've been working on. Having those pieces that you thought were safe be destroyed forces you to think and adjust on the fly, and while that can be an extremely frustrating moment when you see your potential combo just completely disappear, it makes those combos all the more mentally rewarding when you can achieve them, and not just in-game rewarding. With the game's extreme difficulty, they did manage to make it rather player-friendly with the checkpoint system. Typically, you'll need to achieve roughly 3 to 5 matches in order to reach the next checkpoint, and while that gives the player a little bit of relief, it also gives the game the opportunity to add more hazards to the current layout. Having the player only need to make single-digit matches before the next checkpoint actually makes the levels feel rather short, which is a feature you'd be accustomed to if you played Super Meat Boy. But even still, with the levels potentially beaten in a minute or two, you can still find yourself using 10, 15, 20 lives in a matter of minutes. Luckily, you do have an infinite amount of lives. The game is a fascinating take on the drop-down puzzle genre, and the Super Meat Boy aesthetic really fits nicely. Having the instant retries upon death works great, as it doesn't give the player too much time to dwell on the frustration and rage quit, as you feel it necessary to start moving the new pieces out of harm's way. The visuals also really help make the game feel like it's a natural progression in the Super Meat Boy franchise. Even though it's a spin-off, I find myself thinking that it's just the third game in the series, as it has all the staples. There's multiple returning worlds with familiar hazards, similar level layout with the ability to get an A+ on every level, a ridiculous amount of deaths, boss fights, and some truly awesome music. If you've enjoyed the music from Super Meat Boy or Super Meat Boy Forever, then you'll definitely enjoy it here too. As for the game itself, I beat it in roughly 6.5 to 7 hours, which does seem a little quick. However, I didn't get an A+ on the vast majority of levels, so if I wanted to accomplish that feat, it would absolutely double my playtime. The only issue is I don't feel the same sense of joy and pride when getting an A+ in Mean Meat Machine when compared to getting the A+ ranking on a level in the original Super Meat Boy. Maybe if I tried to 100% the game, then getting the A+ ranking on those later levels would give me that sense of accomplishment, but for some reason, I just don't have any urge to even try it, even though I did it with the original game. So while there can be a lot of replayability if you want to 100% it, I personally just don't see the need for it, and I really doubt it's going to be a game that I even consider trying to 100%. I also had very little issues when it came to bugs or glitches, especially because I actually played this on a first gen Xbox One. I had no crashes and no major bugs that impacted my playthrough. That is, until the final boss. I'm going to show you what the issue was, so if you wish to avoid the final boss spoiler, then I'll leave a timestamp for you to skip forward to. For the rest of you, spoiler in 3, 2, 1. For whatever reason, during the final stages of this fight, I just completely lost the ability to place my pieces on this one specific ledge, and in a stage where almost every location was a spot to be hit by a potential hazard, losing this one spot made this fight even harder than it needed to be. The spot worked, and then I reached a checkpoint, and then from that moment on, it's as if there was no floor there. There was just no hit detection in that area, and I can't understand why. But other than that, I felt like I had no issues with bugs and glitches. And welcome back to those who skip forward. While I really enjoyed my time with the game, I do think this game has an extremely limited target audience. Yes, Super Meat Boy is a relatively popular indie franchise. Yes, drop-down puzzle games are a popular genre, and while I think the combination of the two is something that might intrigue a lot of people, I think the difficulty is something that might deter a lot of players, even though games like Dark Souls and Elden Ring are extremely popular. While I think the game has a lot of good features, from the fantastic music, visuals, and creativity to the instant respawns, and personally, I think the difficulty is a positive aspect of the game, there are a few downsides that I feel like should be addressed. While I think the checkpoint system is a nice addition, I do feel like sometimes you reach a checkpoint and then the new hazards are added in, and it leaves you with almost zero room to maneuver your pieces, which then makes the game feel like less of a puzzle game and more of a avoid the hazards and place the pieces anywhere you can type of game. Looking at you, level 5-9. Some of these levels feel like they're completely impossible to plan anything, which then takes away any strategies of getting a combo completely out of your mind. You start to play using survival instincts versus puzzle strategies, and that actually took away a bit of the fun for me. While beating the level is the same concept, the frame of mind I was in while playing was totally different, and it changed the feel of the game, even if just for one level every so often. When a difficult game starts to lose the fun factor, it just becomes frustrating, and that's where these type of games are gonna lose the vast majority of players. I also feel like the game has a relatively fast spike in difficulty, which is fine because of the infinite lives, but again, I feel like the players are gonna go from thinking, I got this, to screw this game, a little too quickly, and a lot of players are gonna get frustrated and quit before they get too invested in trying to overcome the challenge. Which leads me to the next point, is I feel like the game is a little bit too short. I think if the game had about an extra hour or so, it could have made the rise in difficulty less of a spike and more of a steep hill, which would probably keep players from being too frustrated in a short period of time. Overall though, I think it's a great game. While I didn't enjoy it as much as the original Super Meat Boy, I did enjoy it more than Super Meat Boy Forever, but I'm also the exact target audience for this game. I played this game over Street Fighter 6, Diablo 4, Pikmin 4, and Final Fantasy 16, and I have no regrets. But I totally understand that the vast majority of people won't think that way. I think that if you get frustrated easily at video games, then this might not be for you. But if you enjoy drop-down puzzle games and the Super Meat Boy franchise, then there's no reason not to give this game a shot. And if you enjoyed the video, then please be sure to hit the thumbs up. It really helps out a lot. And don't forget to subscribe if you're new here. And if you want to check out more video game related content, then be sure to check out this video right here.